Real quick before this review starts, I just want to say about last week's video, the Supergirl review. I wasn't incredibly happy with that video and how it turned out. I wanted to get the video out in time and just make sure that, because I'd watched it opening weekend, that my video was out very soon. And I just felt not in a good mood, I guess, that day because watching that review back, it's not one of my favorites. I'm going to be completely honest. So, kind of want to apologize on that front because even with stuff that I don't necessarily like, I try to be objective and obviously opinionated, but I like to be fair to everything that I've seen. And Supergirl, I in the video, I seem kind of just like over it and like I don't want to talk about it. I still stand by the fact that it's not as bad as anybody has said. And I actually do like it. Like I left the theater and I felt I enjoyed the movie. I just thought there were some problems with it, but I am still excited for what James Gunn has to do and all that stuff. So, yeah, before we get into this review, I just wanted to say that I feel like last week's review wasn't the greatest, and so I just want to apologize for that. But anyway, on to this review. So, I watched Gary and season 5 of The Bear, and I love this show more than anything, and I don't think that there's another TV show out there that makes me feel the way that this show makes me feel. Okay, real quick, this is going to kind of be a two separate thing. So Gary follows Mikey or Michael, John Bernthal's character, the older brother of Carmi from the show, and Richie, cousin Richie, played by Iban Mosbach Rock. I'm sorry, I just learned how to pronounce his full name, but I wanted to say it because, man, Richie's character is so good, bro. This kind of has to do with the season 5 of The Bear, but also in this movie episode thing, it just solidifies why I love this show so much. The thing that I love about The Bear in its entirety, all seasons have this, and even Gary, all of these seasons have this thing. These don't feel like characters. Oh my god. Okay, listen. I'm gonna do some preamble here. Okay, so recently my wife and I, we went over our top 5 favorite things, whether it be movies, TV shows, actors, actresses, directors, music. We tried to write down 5, like our top 5 for certain things, music, artists, rock bands, whatever. We were just doing that. The Bear made it to my number 3 spot of all, no, I'm sorry, number 4 spot of all time, behind my number 4 was The Bear, my number 3 was Snowfall, my number 2 was The Sopranos, and my number 1 is The Walking Dead. Now, I kind of want to do an episode that's specific on my top 5, talking about shows and movies and things like that, just because I think that's a fun episode and lets you guys know a little more about me, of the things that I personally enjoy and why I enjoy them. But so yeah, Bear number 4, Snowfall number 3. Snowfall is a fucking classic. It's a show that actually has a really good ending and almost has there's no bad seasons of Snowfall. Snowfall is a solid through and through watch. There might be some storylines you don't like or maybe some characters that you don't like, but from start to finish, that show is fucking fantastic. Number 2 was The Sopranos. I was born and lived in New Jersey my entire life, and I like Sopranos a lot. I think Tony Soprano is probably one of the best written characters of all time, objectively speaking. And I just love that show, and being in New Jersey, and I have to prop it up. Number 1 is The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead taught me what to look for when it comes to media in general. Rick Grimes' character taught me what a character arc was. I know that that sounds silly, but when you're 10 and you go to a movie theater, every movie is great for the most part. Obviously some people are a little different, but I'd say until I was about 11 or 12, every movie I saw in the theater was great. It was perfect. Even like my kid brain, I didn't understand like good and bad movies, whatever. Once you start to hit teenage years, you find out, oh, I didn't like that, or I like this, but you don't really know why. Like, I'm a big Transformers guy, you know what I mean? Like, there's movies that I might not be fantastic films, but I enjoyed them. But watching The Walking Dead and seeing how Rick changes from the first to the second season, then the second to the third, then the third to the fourth, then what happens in the fourth season, how that leads him to how he acts in the fifth season, I actually began, like, my brain it clicked on, and oh my god, character arcs, people are changing through the things that are happening to them, and how they're growing and where they end. And so The Walking Dead holds a special place in my heart, because even though objectively it's not the best show out there, and you could say, oh, after season 7, or I didn't like it, whatever, you can complain about a lot, but me personally, I love TV and movies, and The Walking Dead helped me understand character building and understanding of character arcs and changes. Now, with all of that I just said, all of that preamble, you go, how does this relate to the bear? I'm about to tell you. Listen, I'm about to tell you. Snowfall, great. Absolutely fantastic about a drug dealer. I like the characters, okay? I like the journey of the characters. I like the things that they do, okay? Sopranos. I am not a mobster, so I like the characters. I like Chrissy. I like Carmela. Carmela is probably my favorite character. I fucking love I love Carmela. She's great. I like their characters. This mob life, I like the things that they go through, characters. I like The Walking Dead. Rick Grimes is my favorite character of all time. The Bear feels like we put a camera on real people. And I know that there are shows out there such as The Office, which are mockumentaries where it's supposed to be, hey, the premise of this show is that we put cameras on real people. Now, of course, obviously it's all scripted and it's supposed to be funny and the jokes and things like that. The Bear just feels like if you were a fly on the wall with real living human people that just live their lives, and the relationships in this show is what does it for me. Every scene, I'm not even kidding. I might be glazing, and you might be able to point out, point out that, oh, this is an inconsistency, or this doesn't make sense, or, oh, I didn't like this. And listen, that's all fair. But in my opinion, The Bear is almost as perfect of a show as it gets, because every scene they're adding to the relationships of these characters, and I'm not kidding. This happens multiple times throughout the entire show. I know that I was going to talk about specifically season 5, but season 5 takes place in basically one single night, and I really like that. But it's the reason that season 5 works so well is because they spent so long on the other seasons building up these characters and building the relationships with each other, that this one single night shows all of their relationships and their development, and it's beautiful. There are multiple times where something like this will happen. A chef in there, whether it be Sydney, whether it be Carmy, whether it be Tina, whether it be Marcus, whether it's any of them, they'll try something and make something, and they'll have Carmy try it or Sydney try it, and they'll try it and they'll go, it's fucking delicious. Like, oh my god, it's so good. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I know that it's gonna sound like I'm glazing this show, and maybe I am, but I almost cry every time, because this show shows human connection way better than any other show I have ever seen. They don't feel like characters. They just feel like people who are living their lives. And sometimes they disagree with each other, and sometimes they don't get along, and sometimes they get stressed out. And Carmy is a character who he is trying to he has a lot going on in his brain, and he will lash out at people. He'll get loud, and that's an aspect of working with food or in a kitchen in general that I think this show nails. I'm pretty sure, well, no, I know this. Fack, the guy with the mustache and all the tattoos and like the ponytail, his name is Matty Matheson. He is like one of the best professional chefs of all time, and he plays a comedic, like, mechanic character, or not a mechanic, but a like a handyman character. Him and his brother Ted, and but he in real life is a, like, Michelin star chef, so he actually has worked in Michelin star kitchens. So, like, the kitchen aspect of the show, and I have also worked, my aunt owns a seafood takeout business, and so, like, we cooked the food there, and I worked in and out of the kitchen. I would help them out. I wasn't like a chef or nothing like that. I was helping the chefs, prep and do things like that. But the thing that this show gets so good, and that it feels like like real life to me is when you're in a kitchen, you're working with people and you build these bonds because you're with each other all the time. And so, for the most part, you will like each other. That, I mean, obviously, you're not going to like every single person that you run into in your life. But if you're in a scenario where you're working with a smaller staff, you're not working some retail corporate business. If you're working a smaller thing, you get used to the people, you like the people. And sometimes when the shit gets stressful, in the restaurant or whatever it may be, I'm talking specifically restaurant, but it can be something like a smaller niche, whatever. uh you get stressed and sometimes you lash out at each other because you're with each other all the fucking time. It's so hard when you work in a kitchen or with somebody who was your best friend before shift, when something goes wrong and they have their opinion about it and then you have your opinion, and it's like, yo, we got people pulling in, we got it, like, you know what I mean? The restaurant I worked at wasn't like a sit down restaurant, so it wasn't like we had waiters and everything, but you still work in a kitchen, shit still happens, timing, like things like that. And I just, like, this show is just so fucking beautiful. They just feel like real people with real established like connections to each other. And like, I'm not lying, I've every episode of this show I tear up because I care so much about these people and they care so much about each other. And it genuinely is like what it is like the human experience, like human connection. And it's all done through food. And like, I'm not a good cook personally. Like, my wife, she does all the cooking, and it's not that like I want to be good at cooking, but literally every time I try, I usually fuck up what we're making. Like, I'll burn something or whatever, and it's like very discouraging because I don't want to suck at it. That's neither here nor there, but like, just what food means to people, and it brings people together. And I I I I just love this show. I just love this show. I haven't watched this show back. Like, I haven't watched it a second time or anything like that, but this already feels like a comfort show. And I think that the ending is so fucking good. I think that, like, okay, all right, let me stop just yapping about the show in general and talk about specifics. So we're gonna talk about Gary real quick. So this dropped a few weeks, maybe a month before the last season dropped, and it was basically, it's a backstory, not a backstory, what like a flashback basically of Richie and Mikey, and they're going to Gary, Indiana, because it's right next to Chicago, and they're driving there just to pick up something. I don't even remember what it was, but that's not what this is about. This is about showing you the kind of person that Mikey was and the kind of relationship that Richie and Mikey had, but it also fills in more stuff for Richie, which Richie is not a character that needs more because he's honestly he's like the best character. And that's so hard for me to say because there is not a bad character in this show. Not one. Not a singular one character in this show you could tell me is a bad character. There's characters that I don't like, but I don't think that they're bad. And it's one character that I don't like, and it's because it's Carmen, the main character's Jeremy Allen White, his love interest, and I don't like it because their relationship is very. But I don't think there's a single bad character in this whole show. But anyway, basically Mikey, John Bernthal's character, and Richie, they go to Gary, Indiana, and they're basically told, hey, there's time to kill. They just basically hang out in Gary, Indiana for the whole day. Richie's daughter is on the way, so his wife, at the time, who is his ex in the show, like in the present timeline, she's like, be back by 5. So Richie is like, okay, I'm on a time crunch kind of thing. And then he goes out with Mikey, and they bond, they have a good relationship. And like, Mikey is a very closed off person. But it's his cousin. Like, they're friends, but he's rough on the outside, but he loves it, his cousin and his family. And there's a scene of them playing basketball where Mikey gets a little aggravated. They're playing basketball with a bunch of young dudes. It's just a character thing. That's all this is. Like, the plot is it's a character based show, and I don't even feel like they're characters. They just feel like straight up real people. But there's something I want to talk about. Mikey, he ends up going into a bar where Richie is like, he's like, oh, he's getting all the people hyped, doing whatever Richie does, being funny, being over the top, being just a great fucking guy. And Mikey is on drugs. He also is bipolar. he has to be bipolar. This movie, I'll get into it where I'm saying this, but he is a drug addict, and we know that. But we it's played so well. It's so real. I can't help but Mikey isn't a bad guy. I like, I'm struggling, like, it's just crazy because in our society, right? This, I don't want this to get like super deep or super real, but like in our society, people who are on drugs are looked at as bad people when they're people with addiction. They're people who are struggling, and that, you know what I mean? Like, I try to have sympathy and compassion in my life. So like when I see a person on drugs, it's not like, oh, look at that fucking criminal. So John Bernthal plays Mikey as such a good, like, he shows that what most drug addicts are. They're not terrible, disgusting, nasty people. They're people who need help. And like, so there's a scene where he's in the bar bathroom with one of the bar residents, and they're basically, it's like setting up like a little, like a love, like a relationship or whatever. And he goes, "Oh, you mind if I like take a bump or what?" I don't know what drug he was doing. Him and this girl are basically sitting in a stall in a bar, and he's just dumping his heart out to her. And he's talking about his mom, who is Jamie Lee Curtis, by the way. Jamie Lee Curtis, like everybody in this show is insane. It's so good. Anyway, but he's talking about how whenever his mom was on the right amount of medication, just perfect, she would come into his room and rub his back and tell him about everything that they're going to do the next day. How she's going to wake him up, she's going to have the clothes ready for him, they're going to eat something. And then he says that he loved it. He loved that part of his day. And then he said, some nights I would go, "Hey mom, can you tell me about the day we're going to have tomorrow?" And she would go, "What does it matter, Mikey? It's just a day." And his acting, he is such a, like, a troubled person, or like just a regular person. Like, everybody's troubled. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has shit and problems, and it's just so real. I don't know how else to say it. Like, or a better way of describing it to you. But he basically just is so distraught because his mom is like his like his safety harness. So when she does things like that for him, telling him about his day, it makes him feel like he's excited for the day. And then when she goes, "Oh, it's just a day, who cares?" He is like, it upsets him, and he's spilling out his heart to this girl, and it's it's great. It's just great. All it does is fill in the kind of person and the character that Mikey was before, because when the show starts in season 1, he is already passed away. He took his own life, and it just fills in more of what it's like for him. So like, I can imagine, after I've seen everything all the way till the end, right? If I were to go back, with Gary included, go all the way back to the beginning, you, on this second watch, you know more of Mikey than you did when you started. So how people are responding and reacting to his death, it just does so much for me. The show does so much for me. Like, it just feels so, like, personal. Like, I feel like I'm a part of their family. I'm not a chef, and I've never been to Chicago. I'm not, but I feel like I know them all, and I feel like I would get along with them all, and I feel like they'd be friends with me. And I get it that they're not real, but the acting, the Bear has the best acting I have ever seen, to the point where it doesn't even feel like they are saying lines. They're just real people to me. And it's so crazy that, like, everyone is a hit. Not a single miss with a singular one character. No one. Every single character is doing their part. This whole show. Mikey does a speech about Richie, and he goes, you know, "Love this guy. He's my cousin. He does all this stuff for me." And then there's a switch. Everybody's rooting for him because he's like, "Oh, he's about to have a baby. He's about to be a father. How great is that?" And everybody's cheering. And then Mikey has a switch. And this is where I think he's bipolar, because we also get some stuff with Jamie Lee Curtis' character, or Dee Dee. Basically, Dee Dee has a mental struggle, but we never know what it is, because she has to be bipolar, but she also puts that on her kids. Like, you see it through Suge and Carmy, the life that they all live together, Mikey, Suge, and Carmy. You see that they all love their mother and each other, but like their mother had their own shit, had her own shit. Dee Dee, Jamie Lee Curtis, the character, had her own shit to try to figure out, and it might have impacted how she raised her kids. Is more of what I'm saying. So, but this is where the switch happens with Mikey. He goes, You're gonna be a father, man. You're gonna fuck it up." Just like your dad fucked it up, or just like your dad ran away, you're gonna run away. You're a bitch. You're never gonna fucking do it, whatever. And it's you can see the switch because or you feel what it feels like is Mikey is upset that he doesn't have what Richie has. If you watch it back, and again, if anybody has watched this, please leave a comment. Like, I want to talk about this show so bad. I feel like nobody talks about this show, or at least the like enough, like, right now House of the Dragon is going on. A lot of people are talking about that. There's a lot of good movies and stuff coming out. But I really want to talk about this show so bad. But like everything that Mikey is saying is like, you're gonna fuck it up. You're a failure. You always run. You never finish anything. That's a big thing. Or no. I'm sorry. That is Mikey's character, that he never finishes things that he sets out to do. But he basically he switches because he's praising Richie, and then everybody's rooting, and then you kind of can like feel the energy shift. And mind you, the thing that also helps the show feel like real people, and a slight problem I had with season 5, there's almost no music. It's like dead while Mikey is doing this big conversation, this big monologue talking about Richie, and it's just so well done. Richie ends up slapping him. They get into this big argument, and Mikey doesn't hit Richie back or anything, but Richie slaps him. He pushes him. I think he like spits on him or something like that, but they don't actually get into a fight. Then they get a call. It's time to go. The thing that they're there for is ready to go or whatever. So that brings us to season 5. I'm going to get the 2 complaints I have, or like the 2 or 3 complaints I have, really fast. And then we're going to just talk about how much I love this show and this season specifically. This season felt like it was shot differently. I have to go back and watch the other stuff, but I don't remember the show having the black bars at the top and the bottom. I might be wrong. Again, I have to go and rewatch the other seasons. But this season, in the beginning, the first 2 episodes felt very Marvel-ish. And I know that that's crazy to kind of say because I just talked about how they feel like real people and there's no... But the way it's shot and the color grading and the music, it feels like they're gearing up to go fight Thanos. I'm not playing you. I'm not kidding you. Like it sounds like, and maybe I can find a clip. I might not be able to because the season just dropped, but it sounds like they're gearing up for life or death battle. Like it's a third act of a movie and they have to go stop the villain. Now, in the grand scheme of thing, they have this whole season, except for like the last 2 episodes, take place in a singular night. The start of the season is showing up for the day, which chefs, if you don't know, and I'm guessing it's different for, Michelin star restaurants, but like chefs show up at like 11 in the afternoon to get ready for like 6 o'clock, like prepare for 6 o'clock food, or like, opening or whatever. So they're like an incredibly smart, so they showed up probably at like, I don't know exactly what time it was, but I'm assuming it's like 6 a.m, like something crazy early. So that's how it starts, is them showing up for the day at like 6 a.m. There's a Chicago rain like storm going on that's flooding everything, so that's a part of this season, is them kind of dealing with the physical damage of the building, of the rain and the flooding and all that shit. So there's that part, and then them trying to prepare for the night's opening or whatever, like them open for business that night. And so like the first half is them dealing with while they're closed, and then once they open, it's dealing with the problems after. So it's kind of split up, but it's still all one day. It's one full day. But in these first 2 episodes, I noticed the coloring, it felt saturated, like things that were dark were kind of bluish and lights were popping way more. And I don't think that that's a problem. I'm just saying it felt shot, it felt like it was shot differently, or the color grading was different. But that's, again, it took me to get, like, after episode 2, like once we're on 3 and 4, I got used to it. But the problem that I have is the music. The music, it feels like they're gearing up to fight a bad guy. And again, in the restaurant world, that night's opening is the bad guy, right? Like you have to deal with all the problems and all the bullshit that come with, somebody forgets to make food, you miscount on the amount of items or the meals that you have. You miscount on how many people are going to show up. Somebody brings an extra. People aren't leaving fast enough. You have to deal with all that shit. I get it. So it's like they're preparing for this big night, but the music felt very like, yo, somebody's gonna die in this final battle kind of feeling. And I didn't really like that because I was like, what's kind of going on? But as it went through, it was great. It's just so full of these characters that I absolutely love. Let me think if there's any other problems. One character that I didn't really understand what the point of the introduction was, except for comedy relief, is the character Cheese. It's the computer's like daughter, niece, random person that's related to him. It basically follows three-ish sides. You have the cook inside the kitchen part. You have Richie out front of staff, front thing, like them doing their own things in tandem with the cooking. And then you have Uncle Jimmy and the computer and Cheese and Pete and these characters all basically trying to get money because Uncle Jimmy is completely out of money and they're trying to figure out who owns the building, how can they buy it back, the air rights. So there's three plots going on this season and it's all basically happening at the same exact time. I'm just going to talk about characters now. I'm sorry. I don't remember every single thing that happens in order of this season, but every character deserves to have something said about them. Last season, basically, Carmy told Sid that he is selling her the restaurant, as in he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. Now I'm pretty sure this season takes place pretty close to the last season or maybe even the next day or something like that, because they haven't told everybody that Carmy is leaving the restaurant when the season starts. So, um, yeah, so he basically says that he doesn't love being a cook anymore, and he feels bad for being in there for all the people who do. Marcus, Tina, Sydney, Richie loves being there, even though he's not necessarily a cook. He says he sees how much these people love this place, and it's not what he loves anymore, and he feels like basically like a poser for staying there kind of thing, and he wants to leave the restaurant. I think that they handled Carmy's character so good. Okay. Carmy's problem is not that he does not like being a chef or doesn't love it anymore. I said that before. I said they can say that maybe Carmy there was a scene and Carmy says I did it. I went to school for it. I was good at it, but maybe I never loved it. And I said they're not going to sit here and try to tell me that Carmy did not love being a chef. He might have fallen out of love, but to say he wasn't before is absolutely is insane. That's insane. So I said if they're going to do a thing where maybe he fell out of love with it, I'll believe that more. But the last episode, Carmy is basically going in for a job interview to not be a chef anymore. And the lady asks him, what do you expect or what are your expectations? Or what are you looking for? What for your future? And Carmy explains that, now, okay, my wife and I, we couldn't tell if this was a therapy session because Carmy has had problems and he says there's a lot going on in his brain and when he's cooking, it helps him focus or like he's not hearing it all or whatever. And, so we couldn't tell if this was a therapy session because she was like, what do you plan to gain out of this or something, right? So we were like, okay, maybe it's a therapy thing where she's asking him to talk. And he does. He basically says, he was like, I was stressed but I was in that kitchen around people I love and I realized that there's like no place I'd rather be. And she goes, oh, well, I don't know what you expect. I meant more of what you wanted to gain out of becoming like an architect for this company or whatever. Basically, he's doing a job interview. But his whole monologue is about how he loved cooking. And even though beforehand, when he was the head chef at this restaurant, how when all of the shit was going bad, he would just yell at people because it was on, like, he was the head chef. It's on him to maintain the control and everything. But he said that the last night, the night of the whole season, basically the whole season, that night specifically, where they had like their best opening or whatever, he said that basically there's no place that he would have rather been and how he loves it. And so what Carmi's character needed is a leader. Carmi is a fantastic chef, but he doesn't want to lead. He doesn't want to be the head guy because he finds himself yelling and more stressed and being a rude person. And again, not necessarily rude. It's in the kitchen. That's kind of how he was taught. They've done a thing before in the other seasons where when he was learning how to be a chef, the guy that was his head chef was like an absolute asshole to him and treated him like shit. And then he was like, yeah, well, you turned into the best chef of all time. And he was like, yeah, you fucked me up though. Like he was like, I couldn't fucking sleep at night because of you, kind of thing. But so Carmi didn't like being that position. And that's where Sydney comes in. Oh my God. Sydney's character is is beautiful. Sydney is a character that has complete anxiety, but she is the voice of reason, and she is the strength that the group needs. And she has complete anxiety. There was an episode, I think it was a finale episode or something, where everybody from the bear is in her house kind of having a party, and she needs to step out for a second, and she basically sits there and she's like shaking, and there's no words, and you just can tell that she's having an anxiety attack. And it, for people like I would say that I have anxiety about things, but some people have it really bad. And for people who don't have it at all, I think that this is an exact representation of what it's like. Too much going on, thinking about too much, thinking about the worst, not knowing. It's all, Sydney's acting is so good. Of course, Jeremy Allen White is a fucking great actor. I know that I just kind of pushed past Carmi, but like, of course, he's fucking Lip and Shameless. He's one of the best actors of our time. Like, let's not play around. Like, Jeremy Allen White isn't an incredibly real life act, like a real, like he's so good at being a real person that has struggles and has to figure his shit out. But anyway, Sid, her face acting, when people are yelling, you can see her trying to come up with a solution, and then she shuts the problem down and she figures out a solution. Throughout this season, she tells everybody, we're going to have a quiet tone. Even if things go wrong, we're not going to yell. There's a couple of points where people start to get loud. She's like, stop. She's taking the authority role, and it's so good. I know that a lot of people wanted Carmi and Sid to get together. I think that if they did that, I would have been very satisfied. In this season, they did not do it. They kind of played in our face a little bit, but I don't hate it. I think that Carmi and Sydney work as I know this is going to sound crazy. I think that if they were to make it romantic, I would have been happy with that, because I don't like Care Bear. I don't like Carmi's current love interest. I don't think that they work together. I'm going to be honest. I think it was season 3 or 4, when Carmi gets locked in the freezer and he's stressing and he's panicking, and he says like something about is her name Karen? Yeah, Karen or whatever. He basically says like, oh my God, our relationship's not going to work, whatever. He's over analyzing. And all he said was that like, he made a mistake in trying to get with her, because he's basically ruining like, he has to pick between the bear or her. And he's basically saying it was a mistake to try to balance these two. He's not saying, oh, I hate that bitch, I wish I never got with her. He doesn't say anything like that. All he says is, I made a mistake trying to basically get in a relationship in general. Now, of course, for Care Bear, that's not something that you want to hear from the guy that you're interested in. But she makes it like this dude cursed and said, fuck her entire family. She's a bitch. I hate her soul. And that's what she acted like he said. And so I got a bad taste in my mouth from Care Bear. So I don't really want them together. So if Sid and Carmi got together, I would have been happy. I think that it would be weird for them to both work at the same place, like her be the head chef and him just be like a line cook or what. I don't know the term, I'm sorry. But like, it would be weird if they were relationships, but I wouldn't mind if they got together. I think that they have really good chemistry. But I also can kind of see, if you don't put them together, how she learns from him, and he's kind of like an older brother role. So I don't want to say like, oh, they have like sibling energy, but I want them to get together. That's not what I'm saying. I think both ways you take it, Sid and Carmy are such great characters that you can make both of them work, and I'd be satisfied with either. In this one, where they're not together, they played a little bit. There's a part that I'm going to mention, but after Sid gets some really good news, and Carmy as well gets the good news, but they're kind of doing their own thing, and then the good news like actually registers in their brain, and they go and they give each other a hug. And like, you know, if you hug a person that's not your significant other, you know what I mean, you might do a quick like wrap around the back, like a pat on the back, you know what I mean, but like she has her like hands in his hair, like on his neck, and he's like holding her low or whatever. And like, so I was like, yo, are they about to kiss? Like they were kind of. And there's another joke. Pete has a joke, who is a character that I do want to talk about. Pete has a joke in this where he says, oh, Sydney and Carmy, whatever. And the character goes, oh, are they together? And he goes, well, actually, no, but there's theories. That's so funny. That's literally like a wink at the camera. Like, we know you guys want Sid and Carmy to get together, but are we gonna do it? Because that happens like at episode like 4. There's like 8 episodes in the season. So like, you know, that joke is early on in the last episode is what I'm talking about. But yeah, it looked like they were gonna kiss. And I was like, let do it. Like, if we're gonna do it, like do it. Like, you know what I mean? This is the last season. Like, fuck yeah. But, they didn't end up doing it, but I'm okay with it. But yeah, Sid is the leader that Carmy needed, because Carmy loves cooking, but I don't think he wants to be, I don't think he wants to be the leader. And I think that it's good that Sid has a soft voice, because she doesn't yell like his other head chefs. So it works really well that way. Then we're going to jump to Tina really quick, just because she's a fucking great character. She's a character who starts off the show not believing in herself, and she goes to school. She gets really fucking good at it. And then every time she tries new shit, and she stays up late making food. Her husband, who I'm pretty sure they're married in real life, is Dave. I don't know his real name, so I'm sorry about that. But Batista from Dexter, they're married in the show. And again, like I said, pretty sure real life. And they have a great relationship. And he's like, of course. He's like, I believe in you. Like, do what you want, do what you love. Like, we will be okay. Because she's stressing about bills and everything, and the bear isn't doing as great financially for her, but she loves it. And he's like, do what you got to do. And then she makes it a meal for Sid, and she's like, it's fucking great. Oh, they do the family meal where they all eat before service. And later on, Sydney, basically they run out of food, or I think Carmy drops a plate, which is another great moment where he drops the plate and he's like the best chef in there. And so he's like, oh my God, somebody is not going to get their food. It's the Michelin star man, which we will later, again, this is spoiler stuff. So later on, we'll find out that it's not even the Michelin star man, but they think that it is. So they realize we can't serve the Michelin star man something different than everybody else. You know what I mean? So they have to basically change the meal, I'm pretty sure, or add something to it or different. And Sid tells Tina to fire the meal that she made. And she's like, chef, are you sure? And she was like, of course. She was like, why would it not be? She was like, believe in yourself. And it's giving me chills right now thinking about it, because earlier on, there was a character who I can't remember who it was, and I'm sorry that I'm forgetting the moment, but oh, okay. Okay, there was a character who was like struggling and didn't think that they were good enough. Maybe it was Marcus or something, and Tina was like, this is what you do. Like, do what you have to do. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like, of course it's going to be great. You're great. You're going to do great. And she gives this really good heartfelt speech to the other character, who I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was at the time. But it's so real life to me, to when somebody else is down, and if you're a caring person, you will try to raise them up and make them feel better. But then when it's your own creation, you're much more harsher on yourself. So she was like, believe in yourself to the other person, but she didn't believe in herself. But then when Sydney, Chef Sydney, head chef Sydney, says, absolutely, I believe in you, fire the food. And then she goes, call it the family meal. It's this show is giving me chills and making me want to cry thinking about it. That's how much I like feel a part of this family. But Tina's a great character, and she's the CDC, which I'm guessing is CD chef. I don't know what the CD part stands for, but I know the last part's probably chef. But that's basically like Sydney's second hand. Like it would Tina would be above Carmy if he still worked there. Which I'm pretty sure my own headcanon is that he's gonna go back to the Bear, because that last monologue that he gave, he talked a lot about how he loved it. I think he's gonna go back and be a part of the Bear. But yeah, Tina is fucking great. Like she is, and she's given an opportunity, and she comes so far from where she started in the show when it comes to her self confidence and all of that. Like it's so well. Real quick, we'll talk about Suge and Pete. I really like Sugar. Again, another character that you just feel in the family with this show. Like I know that I keep saying that, and it's probably so frustrating. It's like, damn, bro, just fucking talk about it instead of just keep saying that. But like, Suge cares so much about everybody at the Bear and is trying her absolute hardest because she knows how much they love it. And even though she's not a cook, she's helping out in her best possible way. And Pete is a character that is a funny character because all the other characters, Carmy, Richie, even Dee Dee a little bit, Uncle Jimmy, Computer, all these characters kind of push Pete aside, but he's such a genuine guy. He's like genuinely so cool. Like he has this moment later on with Dee Dee, where early in one of the other seasons, she was supposed to come and check out the Bear and she couldn't do it. I'm assuming it has to do with Mikey, or just because all of them, Mikey and Carmy, Suge doesn't cook as much, but Mikey and Carmy learn their love for food from their mom. Mikey is no longer here, and so Dee Dee coming to the restaurant and not wanting to go in because it reminds her too much or whatever. Because again, it's Jamie Lee Curtis. She doesn't even say a word. She just does really good acting and then walks away. So you kind of have to figure out what the reason was. But of course, it has to just probably do with her sons and just not being able to mentally do it. And but so Pete was sitting there waiting for Dee Dee to show up, and she never did. And then this time she does show up and she sees the restaurant, and Pete is like, I'm so glad you're here. And they have a good moment from one other scene that they spent together. One other scene throughout the entire show. I think Pete and Jamie Lee Curtis, Dee Dee, are on screen together or like supposed to be doing something together twice. Twice. It's when he's waiting for her to show up at the restaurant, and this time when she has the baby, and she's like, I'm so glad you're here. And it's another heartfelt moment because you see that Dee Dee is seeing everybody work together and is in love with it. And he finally, oh, it's so good, man. Let's talk about Ibra real quick. Ibra is a great character. He tried to go to school with Tina and it wasn't for him. So he kept making the beef sandwiches on the side instead of like, and he has a really good plan to expand and stuff, and they actually take it. So his whole plot line is actually used, and basically the reason why they're able to stay afloat. His plot line kind of bleeds into Uncle Jimmy's plot line. Uncle Jimmy is great. He is not one of my favorites just because I get that they're going for comic relief with Uncle Jimmy a lot. He goes, oh, well, shove it up my cock and put it in my ass. And he does like a lot of that. And it's funny. A good amount of them are funny, but sometimes it's like, oh my God, he's being a little over the top. Computer is a character that serves his purpose. He's kind of the accountant for Uncle Jimmy. He kind of is like, yo, I'm gonna be real with you kind of thing. Cheese, I didn't really understand what her point was. I feel like you could have got most of the plot with Uncle Jimmy with Computer, like the funny jokes and stuff, but she was just another like kind of comic relief character. So I didn't hate her, but like she felt a little more important in the first couple episodes than she really ended up being. Except she finds Ibra's plan and is like, hey, that's a good plan. And then Ibra's like, oh, is it a good plan? And then that's kind of really all she does. But she's not like a terrible character or anything. Real quick, let's talk about the upfront staff. They bring a couple people from the different restaurants throughout the seasons, and they're great. They all serve their purpose. They're waiters, they're upfront staff. They're doing, you know what I mean? They're doing their job, and they're good characters, and they're pretty fleshed out. There's not a single bad one that I'm like, oh, I hate this guy on screen. Just want to talk about the upfront guys real quick, or the like maintenance guys. You have Ted Fack and Neil Fack. Again, who is Maddie Matheson. They're great. The brother relationship back and forth is so funny. Their relationship to Richie is really funny. How like everybody kind of treats Richie some kind of way, and then uh he treats the facts the same kind of way. It's really funny. The facts are great. Sweeps, the guy with the wine, he's got a great arc. He goes to school and or not goes to school, but uh uh tests himself on the ability of like wine tasting, and he's the wine guy, and he's another server that's really great. That, you know, he's not an integral character, but he's so well done because he gets his own time to shine and his own character arcs and everything. So great. All right, now we're gonna talk about Chef Marcus and um Chef Luca as well. So Marcus had a great arc throughout this entire show of him trying to show his mom, and his mom ended up passing away. It's very tragic and very sad. But he basically, this was probably the last night that the bear was ever going to be open if they didn't do well. So he invites his father and he wants to do really well. He asks Richie to reserve a seat, which, again, another reason why this show is so good. Richie is like, absolutely. Richie, I'm going to do Richie last because I think he might be my favorite character, and probably one of the best character growths. Not that it's necessarily an arc, but he just learns so much, and it's not like an arc where he starts at one point and ends at one point a whole different person. It's more of just his love for the thing grows. Okay, I will talk about Richie, but anyway, back to Marcus. Marcus, his dad is coming to the restaurant and he wants to put on a really good performance for him, and he's constantly second guessing himself if he should do certain things to be real fancy for his dad. And he basically there's an episode, or there's a part where there's a reason, but Chef Marcus is outside and he basically talks about the reason he invited his dad is because he could not invite his mom because his mom passed, and he felt that he wanted a parent to see it. He's been estranged, like he hasn't been with his dad or been around his dad in a long time, but he felt like this was his like only opportunity to show a parent what the bear was like, and his mom is gone, so his dad is the last one, and it's really good. Chef Porter, I'm sorry, I Will Porter, or Chef Luca, he's kind of like their right hand man, like to each other. Like they work on the same station, they help each other out. Chef Marcus learned a lot, but there's a thing about this season that I didn't like. Carmy literally says to Marcus earlier on in the season that the reason that um Chef Marcus is so good is because he doesn't lash out at people. He didn't even say this to Sydney. He said this to Marcus. He said, you don't lash out at people. No matter what's going on, you keep it chill, right? Later on, they're getting slammed, and they're getting slammed. The restaurant's open and everything, and in restaurant terms, there's sometimes like floating chefs that'll do multiple stations, like help you out when you're good for a second. I'm gonna go over here, do this thing. And so Chef Luca, he basically comes back and Marcus is being a complete asshole to him. And I didn't like it because literally a few episodes, maybe an episode ago, they said that Marcus doesn't flip out on people, but it's because of the stress from his dad showing up. And it doesn't necessarily make it right, but I like the inclusion of this because if you've worked in a kitchen, sometimes the shit gets heated because you're with the same people all the time. So if you have a small gripe about a person and then throughout the night you're getting stressed and you're thinking about that gripe, it explodes and they basically almost get into a full fucking fight. And even Chef Luca is like, "Are you fucking serious right now, bro?" And again, Sid is like, "Guys, like be quiet," because again, the way that the bear is set up is the people that are eating can hear it. So they're like, "Guys, chill, chill, chill." And I thought that even though I didn't like the fact that they made Marcus the one who was having an issue, I kind of like how they resolved it. They go outside. Marcus does a big conversation about, or like monologue about how he's like stressed and his father's there and whatever. And they go back inside and, you know, they hash it out. But I thought it was really good to show that kind of thing. I didn't think that Marcus was the one to do that. We've shown Carmy and Richie arguing, all that different kind of shit, but to have Marcus the one being the one that started kind of felt like but anyway, that's neither here nor there. I think Marcus is a great character. He's like the best new chef. It's so deserved. It's so great. Last character that I think that I need to mention is Richie. This guy, okay. Every time that he does something for the group, I want to cry so bad. I don't know what it is about any interactions that he has with Sydney. When you watch the show from the beginning, Sydney is kind of thrown into the madhouse and she has to figure out what's going on. Sydney and Richie's relationship as the time goes on and as Richie tries to learn how to be a good host, a good like opening front of the front restaurant manager, the and as he starts to, it's so good, it's so good. When he tells, Sid that he didn't cancel any reservations and that they're gonna make it work, like, I feel so inspired because it's so well I love Richie's character, man. I just he is just the best to me. He keeps up his deal with Marcus, his promise for Marcus. He forgets about a couple things. He has the facts, throw a giant party, but he's always one step ahead. But even when things get bad, when they're like, oh my God, we don't have a thing, Richie's like, hey, we got it. And it's such a different part of him from the earlier seasons where he's like yelling immediately like yo what the like it's just so good. I'm rating this show as a whole 10 out of 10 and I that's not almost not objective because I love this show. There might be problems. I don't care. I love this show. I did cry at this season when when Carmi and Sid are sitting there after serve or after he gets the phone call from the star guy, the real star guy this time, and he says, she goes, basically, did we get a star? And he goes, no, you got two. I started crying. I only shed 2 tears, but throughout this entire season, I welled like tears welled up in my eyes so many times. And I love this show. I love all of these characters. Oh, also Dee Dee is a great character. She actually I thought that she was going to cause problems in this last season because she has Sugar's baby and like she comes into the restaurant and stuff and I thought she was going to be in the kitchen causing problems or doing things, but no, she actually ended so well. I love this show. I'm sorry, this video is over an hour long at this point in time. I'm gonna edit it and it'll probably be shorter. But I just really like this show and I don't feel like people talk about it enough. And honestly, it just makes me feel such a set like a sense of like care for these people because I love their relationships. It's so good. And I'm honestly so sad to see it end, but I think the ending was really good. Besides for the small critiques I had, which is making Marcus the guy who was exploding, which, even then I can kind of overlook because he was very stressed. And of course they are all stressed and it doesn't give him the right. But and some of the music choices and some of the shots, but after you get used to how like the black bars, once you get used to them, it's still great. But yeah, please let me know your thoughts. If you made it this far, I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you. Really fast, all the glazing that I did for all the characters in this show, I forgot to do a favorite character award, and I am genuinely struggling with who to give it to, but I think it's gonna go to Richie just because he is so good in this show. But yeah, I forgot to do it for some reason. I've been talking for so long that I wanted to try to end the video quick, and I ended up ending it without giving a character award, and it's gonna go to Richie. But yeah,